Mention the word submarine, and this is what comes to mind. A ship submerged in some distant waters, carrying out its silent mission, whether it's a training assignment or some clandestine operation. To those who volunteer for submarine duty, this was probably the picture they had in mind when they joined the Navy. But a submariner knows there's much more to taking a submarine to sea than gliding silently beneath the waves. Unlike Hollywood's version of putting to sea, there's plenty to do before we get there. Everyone has his job. Among other things, you happen to be responsible for navigating out the channel. But like nearly everything else on board a submarine, piloting and radar navigation require teamwork. Prior to getting underway, all the preparation and planning as outlined in the Navigation Department Organization and Regulation Manual, or NORM, have been made. Among those items are: establish overall track and navigational plan, brief the navigation team and piloting party, verify all navigation equipment is operating properly, and complete checkoff lists for leaving port.
Helm, come left, sure course, 122.
The officer of the deck's decision to change course at this precise moment was based mainly on information supplied by a team working below. Information from several sources is gathered here and translated into the ship's position on the piloting charts.
Voyage planning is a very intricate thing. It involves the setting up of 3 identical sets of plots, one for the officer of the deck on the bridge, one for the primary plot, which the navigator will be using principally to navigate the ship with, and one for the secondary plot, which we'll use as a backup. Usually that's run by the radar operators. In addition to that, there will be another set of plots that the sonar supervisor uses in sonar so that acoustically he can figure out if you're on track or off track.
It's the job of the assistant navigator to ensure the charts are ready for approval by the navigator and commanding officer in accordance with approved checkoff lists.
Shoot around.
Shoot around, I bat, bearing, mark.
161.5.
Under normal circumstances, bearings taken to the nav aids through the periscope will be logged in the bearing book and, at the same time, plotted on the chart.
End of round, channels clear ahead.
Bridge navigator, have an excellent fix, hold you on track after the turn, 1,600 yards from the next turn, 0 set drift, channels clear ahead.
Navigator, bridge eye, helm all ahead standard.
Sounding.
If that were all there was to it, piloting and navigation would be a simple matter.
Scope is channel clear ahead.
But there's much more happening here than getting a fix by bearings. The secondary plotter uses an identically prepared chart as the primary plotter. And, like the primary plot, the secondary plot recorder maintains a bearing book. The recorder should log bearings and ranges in the bearing book as received. Also logged in both bearing books are the chart in use and time of chart shifts, the master gyro error, transmission error, and visual bearing error. A list of nav aids used for each port must be a permanent part of each bearing book.
Navigator, have an excellent fix. Hold you on track, 400 yards to the turn.
The plotter must be aware of the direction and magnitude of any errors in the bearing and range indicators. If bearing errors are greater than 1/4 of a degree and radar range errors greater than 100 yards, the plotter makes the correction.
1,100 yards from the next turn, next course to the right, 145, 0 set and drift, channels clear ahead.
A fix of the ship's position during navigation and piloting is required at least once every 3 minutes when in harbor, channel, or other severely restricted area. Fixes may be required more or less often at the navigator's discretion. Each fix follows a specific routine. This is called a cyclic routine. If you, as a navigation team member, understand that a cyclic routine consists of plot, label, DR, evaluate, and recommend, your job will be made easier. For the secondary plot, the first step is the radar fix itself. Radar fixes can be obtained with a variety of methods. 2 radar ranges is an acceptable method of obtaining a fix. 3 ranges result in more accuracy. When accurate range information is not available, 2 or more radar bearings could be used. The accuracy of this fixing method is greater when the center bearing of small, isolated radar conspicuous objects can be observed. Fixing by tangent bearings is one of the least accurate methods. The use of tangent bearings with a range measurement can provide a fix of reasonably good accuracy. When the situation warrants, a combination of these methods may be required. For example, if only 2 reliable range arcs are available, a line of bearing may be used to verify the ship's position. The ship's position is then dead reckoned or DR'd 2 fix intervals in advance. Now comes the time to evaluate the information you have on the chart. You quickly see by your DR that at this course and speed, there is no obstruction in your track for at least 2 fix intervals. By quickly computing set and drift, you can determine if your desired course and speed are being made good through the water. Winds and currents sometimes push us off course.
Navigator, secondary holds you on track, set and drift 0.
Since soundings from the fathometer are being recorded in the bearing book with every fix,
Sounding, 13 feet.
you compare that reading with the depth marked on the chart. The two should be reasonably close. Be aware that charted depth may be recorded in feet, fathoms, or meters. Be particularly alert to red or yellow soundings on the chart. Red soundings are the minimum permissible depth under the keel authorized by the commanding officer.
4 feet.
Navigator, yellow sounding, recommend taking around.
sounding.
Radar, take around.
Recommend coming right and slowing, steady 150.
Helm right, full rudder, all ahead 1/3. Navigator bridge, take continuous soundings. We appear to be out of the channel.
Yellow soundings are appropriate depth under the keel approved by the commanding officer to indicate potential danger. Either of these conditions require an immediate report to the officer of the deck and the navigator. If there is a turn in your projected track, and there almost always is, the distance and time to that turn should be noted. All of these are evaluations that should be made by the primary and secondary plotters simultaneously on their respective plots. Based on their evaluations, they make recommendations to the navigator.
Navigator, hold you 40 yards to the right track. 145 is
If
not
the
good
two
course.
recommendations differ, someone must decide which fix to use.
Usually it's the navigator. If he's a strong individual, he'll be making a determination based on data he has seen before, reports he's receiving from the bridge, reports from all the data input sources that he has, sonar, radar. He has the XO there who has a fair amount of experience, and he can help him out if there is a big question.
If the final evaluation shows the ship is proceeding into danger, an immediate report is required. That basically is a cyclic routine. Plot, label, DR, evaluate, then recommend. Remember, this cyclic routine must be repeated for every fix. But a fix is not erased because it appears in error. Recommend slowing, stopping, or turning away from danger until the accuracy of the fix is verified by all means available.
Passing secondary fix to primary.
After every 5th cycle, or every 15 minutes when on the 3-minute fix interval, the secondary plot fix must be physically transferred to the primary plot.
Navigator primary radar offset is 0.
An experienced plotter can easily handle a cyclic routine in 3 minutes. In fact, in reduced visibility or areas of frequent turns, he may have to do it more often. The navigator may want to use radar fixes on the primary plot every 2 minutes. Again, an experienced plotter can handle this. But the navigator is cautioned not to overload his team. It may be necessary to slow the ship's speed as a safety factor. It would be better to sacrifice ship speed rather than sacrifice accuracy of the cyclic routine. There are cases where submarine navigators and captains have regretted not doing that. Another way to fix the ship's position is by using a Fissure plot. When this method is used, specific entries must be made in the secondary plot bearing book. Log the time, then the statement, commenced radar navigation using Fissure plot, followed by ring time. When using the Fissure plot, the radar operator sets his scale to the same scale as the chart. He then lays a plastic template over his scope and traces the landmass and other nav aids onto the template with a grease pencil. A north reference should be marked on the template. There is only one fix on each template, and the time and date must be noted on each one. By laying the template over the chart and lining up the grease pencil outlines with the land on the chart, the center of the template indicates the ship's position. If the Fissure plot is being used, the fix interval does not change. Templates should not be erased, but should be saved as a record of the navigation sequence until safely clear of restricted waters.
Navigator holds you on track, set and drift 0.
A variation of this method is the reverse Fissure plot. Before getting underway, a number of templates can be made up, but in this method, the outline of land and nav aids are traced from the chart. By transferring the template to the radar scope and lining up the tracing to the radar image, the center of the PPI scope or your ship's position can be pinpointed. The time of the fix is also noted. Again, templates should be dated and saved as a record of the operation until safely clear of restricted waters. The template is then transferred back to the chart and the ship's position indicated on the chart. The responsibilities of the plotter do not change. A DR must be made, followed by evaluation and recommendations. The radar operator also has additional responsibilities. He must share his time between the secondary plotter and the contact coordinator. The range scale is determined by the contact coordinator for surface contact information and by the navigator for navigational information.
Contact coordinator is basically taking an overall picture of the overall view of the picture and giving that to the officer of the deck. The navigator is worried about basically keeping the ship on track and on time, on schedule. And if there's a conflict, I would expect the two to be able to work it out between them. However, if not, the executive officer is always there as overall supervisor to step in and smooth things over.
This submarine cleared the channel in clear weather using mostly visual navigation techniques. But it's important for the secondary plotting team to realize that their job is just as important in good visibility as it is in reduced visibility. If the team doesn't practice radar navigation when it's not needed, it may not be able to do it when it is.